Hey everyone, welcome back. Miss Wilkins here for Orchestra Tube and Orchestra on the Go. This is a quick video for setting up the bass in relation to the body. Now there's two ways obviously that you can play the bass. One is standing and one is seated. I teach high school, so I'm going to mostly talk about seated, but I want to touch base on standing because most students are taught to stand, which every bass player, professional bass player that I've talked to said that is absolutely the way to do it. Teach them standing first because they will always need to know how to stand, but they may not have to all the time. But if they do, they have that skill, and standing is actually one of the hardest skills to perfect with the bass, so it's good that they get that out of the way in their first year of playing. So we want to make sure that the bass comes into the body at an angle on this back edge right here, goes right into the left hip, and we balance there, and you can get it, you can work on balancing it with the student and getting it to a place where it's in a place of balance there. And then this nut right here should arrive about at the eyebrows for the student. You don't want it any higher or any lower. So that's sort of official way. Okay, so I'm going to transition into seated position for the bass. One of the things that I really look to for students is ease of playing with the instrument and mobility. So as we get into the more advanced pieces in high school literature, the basses really need to sit to have control over the bass. So as I said in the standing part of this video, we're going to just make sure that we have a stool that's appropriate for the bass, making sure that we have the right height. I use those bar stools from Target. They're 20 bucks, and you can cut off the legs at different heights, so if you have different heights of students. But we want to make sure that everything is as comfortable as possible for the bass players. The left foot is on the floor. The right foot is on the rung of the stool. And then for seated position with bass, I just tell students to think cello. So we're almost playing the bass like a cello. Why? Because I want them to have as much unimpeded access to the fingerboard as possible. So what some students will do is they'll pretend that they're standing, but they just sit down. And so they have this same setup for seated, which really doesn't work when we want to try and get some more weight into the string and really pulling onto the fingerboard. So in order to do that, you really need to have the fingerboard, you know, in front of you. I've got, just like cello, this bout is resting on my right knee, and then my left knee is the foundation of where I'm going to lean that bass. And every professional bass player that I've talked to has talked about the seated position, likening that to a shoulder rest like a violin or viola. So it stabilizes the bass, it's not moving. When we're shifting, we're not trying to hit a moving target. Okay, so now that we're in position, we want to make sure that we're bringing the elbow out and bending the elbow straight, bringing that back to find first position, and I'm making sure that the first finger and fourth finger can span the whole step interval for first position. This is the hardest one, so you want to make sure that kids have the hand width and the appropriate cello size. The biggest size of basses, sorry, the appropriate bass size. The biggest size for bass is called a 3/4. Oddly, there is no full-size bass, so 3/4 is the full size. What you're looking at right here, this is a half size. I play on a half size because I just can't handle those big boys. And in my high school, I do have both half size and 3/4 in my fleet because I do get smaller girls who just prefer to play on this half size like I do. So we do have one in our fleet. So that's important to know that at high school, not everybody can play the 3/4 size. Okay, so we're just making sure that it's stable. I can move from side to side just like I can with cello. I'm sitting on the first 6 inches of my chair. I'm not leaning back. I'm using my backbones to really engage my core and back muscles to hold the base up. And now my hands are free to move wherever I need. Just making sure that that back here gets to the sternum of the student, and that when the hand is elongated, it lands where I would like the bow to land naturally, which would be smack dab in the middle between the fingerboard and the bridge. So I want my hand right about here. So same thing, and again, you've measured this nut to the student, so you want to make sure that you don't have the end pin too high or too low. You might have to change it a little bit in seated position just to accommodate different body types, but it should work out. All right, everyone, thanks a lot, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.